Greetings one and all, my name is Lancer and welcome to the Fall 2024 Anime Bingecap. Again, for those who are uninitiated, a Bingecap for me is what I chose to watch during the season of anime. Pretty much recapping my Bingecap. I came up with the name 2 years ago, don't ask me to change it. This one will probably be a quick one because I'm gonna be honest, there was some good shows, but I will say there's a good amount of shows that I definitely am going to forget once this season is over. That doesn't mean we can't still savor the good. But in classic fashion, we'll first talk about the shows that I didn't really enjoy that much, and then we'll get further and further into the shows that I really enjoyed. I guess we'll start with this one. Ao no Hako, Blue Box. Every morning, incoming first year Taiki Inomata hurries to his high school gym in order to further refine his badminton skills. However, his true motivation stems from sharing the otherwise empty gym with the second year Chinatsu Kano, Taiki's crush and star player of the girls' basketball team. Although Chinatsu seems unapproachable, Taiki gradually finds opportunities to get to know her little by little. There's more to that, but that's basically the gist. Right away, I like the idea. It's not your typical sport anime or even romance, just in the sense that they're both in two different sports. The girl Chinatsu's in basketball and our guy Taiki is in badminton. Which badminton, that's not something we see in anything really. The only other thing recently I've seen with badminton is through reading Oyasumi Punpun. Video on that will be coming soon. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't watched a whole lot of this. I've watched only about 5 episodes of it. It's gonna be a 25 episode show, which I'm probably not gonna watch all of it, I'll be honest. The style hooked me. I really like how it's drawn. It's done by Studio Telecom, which has done stuff such as Ijirana de Nagatoro-san, Lupin the Third, and a bunch of other stuff that I don't recognize. But it's an interesting romance. I've seen some funny stuff for this where it's just like people asking just like, is this just gonna be 25 episodes of the dude simping for the girl, or is there actually gonna be progression? That's why I really don't have any interest in watching more than what I've already watched for it. It's fine. I mean, if you're into anime where you don't really have to think about it, it's kind of like a background noise kind of show. It had some pretty good shots every once in a while. Animation wasn't too bad. It actually was pretty good. I don't know why I'm saying too bad, but it's just one of those ones where it's just like, I don't need to see 25 episodes of this. Hell, I don't need to see more than the 5 that I watched. So for that Blue Box, I'll give a generous 6 out of 10. Just because for me personally, I wasn't that invested in it and I don't have any interest really, but I will still give it a fair amount of points for what I enjoyed for it. But next one, do I talk about this now? I mean, I might as well. Dragon Ball Daima. I'm not gonna read the synopsis. I'm a lifelong Dragon Ball fan, if you do not know. So naturally, I can't say I was looking forward to this, because I made videos as trailers were coming out for this, just talking about I don't necessarily think that this is needed for anything, but I turned myself around and became more optimistic about it. I started doing reactions to the show, and well, that steadily killed my interest in it. Just first episode, great. Second episode, it reminds me that Toei does not know how to pace their goddamn shows. It's funny having that reminder, having, watched Dragon Ball my whole life, then started watching One Piece, and then coming back to some new Dragon Ball. God, you cannot pace anything correctly. Every time there's been a new episode that's come out for it, it's like I've more or less just skim watched it. I've saved myself the time. Call me a traitor, but Dragon Ball fans will gas the absolute shit out of the most boring story. I swear to God. Look, I get it. It's throwing it back to like the OG Dragon Ball. Even despite everything, I think OG Dragon Ball is fire as hell. But that's just it. This feels like it's trying to be that now. As much as people give Super shit for trying to replicate stuff that happens in Z, I feel like this is just doing that, but people are talking less shit about this because it looks better than Super. It all comes down to that. Is there pretty colors? Is there good animation? And people will shut up. I didn't care about Daima when it was announced. I gaslit myself into caring about it before it came out, and now that it's out, I'm back to not caring about it again. I'll maybe go through it like once it's over, just like kind of go through the important bits. It pains me, but 3 out of 10 for Dragon Ball Daima. 3 out of 10 for the 3 episodes that I wasted making videos on. Other than the first one. A lot of that was just nostalgia anyway. All right, next one. 365 Days to the Wedding. As introverted colleagues at a travel agency in Tokyo, Takuya Ohara and Rika Honjoji both cherish their happily single lives. After work, home is where they feel most at ease. Takuya unwinds with his cat while Rika studies various matters maps. However, an uncertain future looms over their treasured tranquility when their company plans to open a branch office in Alaska and transfer an unmarried employee there. During a day off, Takuya and Rika meet, and despite having never spoken before, open up to each other about their relocation fears. Feeling encouraged by Takuya facing the same predicament, Rika suddenly proposes a daring solution: to pretend to be engaged for 365 days. Takuya accepts, but little do the two know that the path to marriage may, in many ways, change forever the very lifestyles they struggle to preserve. That's like way more epic of a description than what the show actually ended up being. But again, this comes back to what I've been realizing a lot with these kind of shows. Just make a movie. Because like really the first 2 episodes, it's like, oh yeah, I'm hooked on the concept. And then it's like, all right, now how do we stretch this out? I mean, again, I get it's based on a manga, but like still stretching it out for this long. I was hooked at the beginning and then it's like, okay, I get the rest. And then I came back at the end. I mean, to be fair, where it ends, it's like, that's the end of the story, right? Surely there's not more. Like, why would there be more? Again, simple romance concept. The main girl is voiced by Hayami Sayori. Great voice. You can look up everything that she's been in. She's a classic voice at this point. It's nice just seeing, I guess, 2 introverted people, you know, find love. See that spur out. Very relatable to us anime fans, except for the fact that they actually found love. Another one that I kind of jumped around with watching. I skipped some episodes, skimmed through others, and I'm just like, I get the point, but that's ultimately where I'm at with anime these days. I'm not gonna give a shit as I continue to watch. I'm not gonna waste my time, but despite that, I enjoyed the parts I watched of it. A cute office romance that leads to marriage. Starts with marriage, ends with marriage. Overall, I give it an easy 6 out of 10. Recommend it if you like those one-off kind of romance stories. Just gonna leave it at that. Next one, Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister. That's not what I thought the title was, but after witnessing his mother's death at a young age, Uryu grew up disillusioned with the gods. Due to his beliefs, he aims to be a doctor, spending most of his time studying to enter the prestigious Kyoto University. To further his studies, Uryu searches for a new place to take him in and get away from the noisy environment of the orphanage where he grew up. Chidori Amagami, head priest of the Amagami Shrine, allows him to stay at the Amagami residence. However, Uryu has to live there with Chidori's 3 granddaughters, Yae, Yuna, and Asahi, who serve as shrine maidens. Moreover, Chidori has another condition for Uryu. He has to marry one of the sisters to ensure the shrine's future. Both Uryu's goals and outlook naturally clashing against the sisters' beliefs. This already daunting ordeal seems outright impossible. And that's the story. It's one of those ones where it's like, it starts out making you think like, oh, which one is he gonna end up with kind of thing. It quickly is just like, he's gonna end up with all 3 of them. It's a harem. I will say, I give props to this show for just immediately getting into the romance. It didn't really drag its feet for too long. Another show that's gonna be 24 episodes for its first season. Why do shows like this, where I don't really give a fuck about them, get 24 episodes, but shows like Dandadan and ReZero and stuff like that only get these short little seasons? Whatever. Definitely, this show does not even try to really do anything new. The most it kind of does is just like, oh, he has dreams of the future. And it's like in that episode, like those kind of things come to pass. The girls themselves, you know, you got the tsundere, you got the Onei-san kind of character, and you got the lolly who's weird. And of course, our main character who's immune to all of that for a little bit. It's another show where it's just like, I've watched Quintessential Quintuplets. I love that show. You will never be that. But despite all that, art style, pretty nice. Has, of course, a lot of those lewd moments, naturally. The OP is a solid banger. Can't deny. Every time it comes on, I'm just like, oh, I like this. Gotta playlist it. This is the same studio that brought us Konosuba, specifically Konosuba Season 3. Interesting. Yeah, the top comment on here, the best mid-harem romance ever. The best? No, I could think of better mid-romance harem animes. But for this year, no, not even this year. I'ma leave it smack bang in the middle, 5 out of 10. Had its moments, it was interesting. Had a lot of those moments where it was not. I give it points for at least not dragging its feet for a while. Even though I gave it a lower score than some other stuff, I will say I think I enjoyed it more. I watched more of it. Next one, You Are Ms.Servant. One day, Hitoyoshi Yokiya wakes up to a mysterious nameless girl dressed as a maid, asking to be his servant. She offers her expertise as an assassin, and intimidated by her background, Hitoyoshi tries to send her away, but he leaves something behind. When he rushes to get it to her, he's nearly hit by a truck. With her fast reflexes, she saves him, and he takes her in. Ironically, the maid lacks any skills apart from the art of killing. Nevertheless, Nevertheless, Hitoyoshi welcomes the girl with open arms, encouraging her to leave her monochromatic past behind and experience a normal life. To seal the deal, Hitoyoshi names her Yuki, marking the beginning of her path to redemption and happiness. This might be my favorite of like the romance-centric one-off shows that have come out this season. I don't know, I guess I'm biased. I like those kind of stories where it's just like this girl who's so solid. I guess Violet Evergarden-esque. You know, this girl who has such a dark backstory is like this killing machine basically. But yeah, she's looking after this kid, this guy, and then of course there's a romance that ensues between, which ultimately it's gonna build towards. It's just a heartfelt story. I really like it. And of the little bit I've watched of it, the dub doesn't actually sound too bad. I may be tempted to maybe rewatch this in English. Mainly with this guy's surprisingly sexy voice.
Hey there, little miss. You had a little lint on your shoulder. I got it for you.
Having watched 11 episodes, the last episode hasn't come out yet, just this whole thing of marking the beginning of her redemption. The only thing I'm kind of missing with it, which I imagine maybe will happen in either a season 2 or everything else that comes later, we haven't seen too much of like her story. We hear kind of in joking manners a lot of the time, and also just in her dreams, just like the horrible things that she's done as an assassin. But I don't know, I feel like she pivots fairly easily to this just simple life, but it's just that idea of just like, I've done so much horrible things in my life, how can I ever be worthy of a life like this? And then of course our hero, our main character boy, just being like, I will accept you for who you are. I say that in a joking manner, but like it's beautiful. I mean, we haven't really learned anything about the main character either, because he has kind of a dark story as well, but I mean a lot of it's kind of inferred, you know. I don't need everything just spelled out. If anything, I would kind of like it that way, the fact that there's that story that takes place for both of them before this, and then it's like it's not really expanded upon, but it is there. I really enjoy it. I might do the manga after this, because I doubt that this last episode is going to cover everything. I will say this show's use of CG is interesting. Definitely not the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, but I mean, I'm not really interested in all that. It's just like, it's a jarring thing when it happens. It's just like, whoa, we're not even being subtle about it. The art carries it. Music's really good. All around, a solid 7 out of 10. We'll start wrapping things out here as we get to our last couple ones. This one, TsumaSho. I thought the full title of this was My Wife Reincarnated as a 9-year-old. Oh yeah, synonym, if my wife becomes an elementary school student. It pretty much is that. This guy, he falls in love with this woman at his work, they get married, they have a kid, it's a happy life, and then his wife gets in an accident, she passes away, and then life moves on, 10 years pass, and all of a sudden this girl shows up at his front door saying that she's his wife. Yeah, his wife reincarnates as a 9-year-old. Now, I was amongst a good amount of people who, when I think the first trailer for this and just like seeing the manga for it, it's just like, oh god, Japan, here we go. So going into this, I was like, all right, I'm bracing myself. But right away, I'm not gonna lie, this show is really good. Ignore anything you may have heard about it in terms of like, oh, here we go, it's just gonna be like some weird lolly thing or whatever. There's none of that. This show is amazingly mature despite what it's titled. There is not a single scene in which there's any lolly bait. I mean, you could make stretches, but I think you're the weird one if you are, because this show has an amazing theme of dealing with loss. The whole thing of like getting to right the wrongs you did in life, like the second chance. It is a beautiful show. Just delving a little bit into the plot of it, like the wife reincarnates in the body of this 9-year-old. It's the wife's soul, but she's in this body of the girl who, like, she was already alive, living this different life with her mother. So it's kind of these two stories where it's, you know, it's the wife trying to reconnect with her husband and her daughter, making sure that those two are able to live a happy life without her. And then there's the life of the girl, of the body that she inhabits, and her mother who's living this sad life. Her husband left her, she's a single mother, she's working like dead-end jobs, she's abusive to the daughter, and then it's this beautiful story ultimately culminating in just how this woman is able to have both of those families and ultimately bring them together, and then also like settle their problems. And then by the end, I nearly squeaked a tear. I didn't cry fully, but you know, I felt like the knot in my throat, and I was like, okay, that was good. My complaint with it though is just the ending of it felt a tad bit fast, just in the sense that you're building towards this inevitable outcome for the character, and then like it happens and it's like, all right, guess that's done. There's still those moments where like it goes past that and you see some beautiful stuff. I'm tiptoeing around spoilers with this just because I really do recommend that you watch this show for anybody, really, just because again, it's a beautiful tale of just someone who loses, you know, a loved one and everything, just they can't move on, like their life gets stunts them for so long, and then just that chance of being able to to move on with that. Again, I have some of my gripes with the ending and just certain leaps that were taken and certain character choices, but I understand what they were going for. It's just, I felt like they could have done choices differently and still had it been fine. It was a very heartfelt, very great story about family, love, loss, therapy, and just all this different stuff. And I give it a solid 8 out of 10. I know I gave it so much praise just for to give it an 8 out of 10, but it's just because there's still those moments where I'm just like, all right, let's pick it up a bit. I get that like we're locked into 12 episodes, but I feel like we could have done it in maybe 9 or 10. I enjoyed it. And where it ends, it's like, I doubt that there's more in the manga. I mean, there'd be no point. Where it ends, it's like, that's the end. And it's a beautiful end. All right, last two that we'll talk about. Shows that I watched week to week on the channel. And I'll start with this since there was very little of it. Re:Zero Season 3 Part 1. I already talked, obviously, a fair amount about this show as we watched it week to week. Why did it only have to be 8 episodes? And also, why do we have to wait till like fucking February for it to come back? Just for it to be 8 more episodes and then it's done again. Fuck me, dude. It sucks as well just because it's like I really felt myself just fully getting sucked back into this world. I mean, to be fair, it started with like an hour-and-a-half long episode, so that in it itself was, I guess, like an extra 4 episodes, but I wasn't like immediately hooked into the season right away. But then like as each episode kept going and building and adding stuff, I was like, all right, we're getting it, and then it just ends. Why? So I can't even really properly rank it because it's just a blue-balled season and it's only half a season. It's so shit. All in all though, it was a phenomenal season. It had those moments. I fucking cried at one point. You can watch it. If anything, if you're just gonna do 8 episodes, you should have just released all 8 of them at once. Just a quick thing for that. Re:Zero Season 3. Loved it. Watched the reactions. Good stuff. Hate how short it was though. And the last show that we will talk about, I'm sure you can guess what it is. Another show I watched week to week on the channel. Dandadan. A show that has been wrapped in controversy for a lot of people. Naturally, because, you know, people can't just enjoy things. It has to just be like, nope, there's something I view as a problem, thus the whole thing is bad. I gotta stop reading the comments on it because I'm gonna start doom scrolling. But Dandadan is possibly the best show that's come out this year. Only possibly. At the very least, it's top 10. When I think about a lot of other stuff that's come out this year, I mean, I have to think about it. It'd be hard. Another show that blue balls, as I've talked about forever. It's just like, if it's a 12 episode show for a very popular manga, it's going to just be an advertisement for the manga. But I have no end of praise for this show. I'm glad I decided to watch it on the channel. Again, it wasn't a show that necessarily challenged me like psychologically or anything. Like there wasn't too many like deep conversations about anything. It's just a show that was fun. That's a lot of what people are forgetting about shows nowadays. Just like, it's entertainment. Are we not entertained? Are we not watching stuff because it's entertaining? Like if you're going into something wanting to be critical about it, I think you're already losing. I think you're losing at life in that situation. You could say that this show is brain rot, but like there's enough there where like there's mature conversations about stuff. I joked about it while watching. It's just like, this might be the best romance anime ever just because of how real it feels, in the sense that there's this popular girl and this kind of nerdy guy, and it's just they're in this unexpected circumstance where they basically suspension bridge affected themselves and now they're friends, and it's like, how do you work with that? And just like the growing romance between the two. It's obvious Okarun likes Ayase, and Ayase obviously does have those feelings for him. It's just she hasn't fully realized them yet. And then of course we introduce amazing side characters like Aira and Gigi, characters who become like those love rivals, but at the same time they are so entertaining as characters. And then of course we get Granny and Turbo Granny, the different spirits, the aliens. It's gonna be a fascinating show to rewatch and also watch other people watch it. What do other people take away from this? It took me back to watching Mob Psycho for the first time. Although ironically I would say this is more crazy than Mob Psycho. It is definitely the best show that came out this season. Of course, animation, art, and all that was a big plus for it. It's just so funny to see people. It's like, oh, it's animated good and all this shit, blah, blah, blah. That's all people care about. It's like, bro, not everything is Demon Slayer where it's just animation and nothing else. Sorry, that's mean to Demon Slayer. Jujutsu Kaisen. But it adds to it. It's not just animation for the sake of it just looking good. Like, I still think of probably my favorite sequence is the chase scene with the crab, and then it plays the friggin' dun, dun, That might be one of my favorite scenes in anything in a while. It's a show where I don't necessarily care about the long-term prospect of the world. I enjoy the characters, I enjoy the chaos. These arcs at a time that are sort of just like these one-off arcs that sort of connect to each other to the end. And yeah, I definitely want to read the manga for it, and I probably will, and maybe make a video on it. We'll see. So overall, Dandadan, fuck it. It's my list. 10 out of 10. Ended on a goddamn cliffhanger, but hey, at least immediately we got that, yeah, second season will come out eventually. But yeah, that was the fall 2024 anime season. Of course, now we go and look. What is there to look forward to for the winter 2025 season? I think there's some sequel stuff, definitely. Solo Leveling season 2. Don't give a fuck about that. Ooh, hell yeah. Apothecary Diary season 2. Dope. 100 Girlfriends season 2. Let's fucking go. I'm tempted to react to it. I might not. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of hard just because I've read the manga, but I don't know. I'm open to it. We might. Some more Fate Strange Fake and some other one-off stuff. Of course, some romance things that look interesting. So yeah, join me in another 12 to 13 weeks when we cover some more amazing shows that came out this year, and also not amazing shows when we get the first binge cap of 2025. But either way, this was my fall 2024 binge cap, the final binge cap of the year. It has been a crazy year of anime. I honestly might be tempted to make a top 10 anime that came out this year. We'll see. I'd really have to think about that. But let me know what your favorite shows that came out this season were, and join me for many other videos of the sort, be they future anime reviews, reactions, gameplay, and everything else to be coming out soon. So thank you all for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.